Hey everyone, welcome back to Live Q&A with Perfectly Holistic. My name is Pam and I am excited to be back with you guys tonight. If you are lucky enough to catch us, let me know where you are watching from. We are streaming on Instagram, so if you guys are watching on Instagram, definitely come over here and say hi and be thinking about what questions you guys have about holistic cat care tonight, because I'm going to probably take 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how many questions that we have. And let me know where you're watching from. We're also streaming on our YouTube platform and our Facebook page. So before we get started, I wanted to just make a couple of quick announcements over here. I'll let you guys know about some things we have coming up soon. I think it's the 16th of this month. I am going to be interviewing Dr. Susan Recker, who is an amazing human being. She works with the Animal Diet Formulator, and that website is awesome if you guys are looking at trying to make homemade balanced pet food, whether it's cooked or raw food recipes. So if you are curious to learn a little bit more about fresh feeding, we're going to talk a little bit about that on that show. And then we're also going to be discussing carcinogens hiding in pet food, any kind of pet food. So, and which kinds of pet food are going to be more susceptible to having that in their food. So it's going to be a really, really cool topic. I hope you guys will join us for that. And then on the 20th of this month, we're doing a really cool radio show. I'm interviewing the owner and founder of Bloom Biosciences, and we're going to be talking to a cat mama about her cat and a case study that they did with some of their products and turning around heart disease and kidney issues. It's fascinating and it's mind-blowing. So I hope you guys will join us for that show on the 20th. And then next Wednesday, if you guys follow Julianne Hart with Naturally Cats, I and Dr. Barry Sands and Julianne are going to be talking about energy and how our energy affects our pets on her Soul Space, which is a free online platform for cat people. So if you want to know more about that, go over to naturallycats.com or check out her Instagram and Facebook pages, because she's been promoting all of that recently. So super excited. We have a lot of good things coming up to support you guys. So yeah, if you have questions tonight about cat care, using a more holistic approach with your cats, if you want to talk about feline nutrition, supplements, whatever the case might be, if there are specific kinds of challenges that you're having with your cat, we can talk about that as well. If you're having behavior issues or any emotional kind of issues, we can talk about that too, because that's kind of my roadhouse. So, or my wheelhouse, not roadhouse. But yeah, so let me know if you are watching today and drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from so I can say hi to you guys. I hope you have had a really, really good week. I cannot believe it's October. So happy October, everyone. And let me see. I want to make sure I didn't miss something over here. Sorry, my finger was trying to fix where we are. Okay. Yes, it's October. So how's your weather? Are your cats happy? Are your cats going outside? I know mine are enjoying this cooler weather in the morning. And it's actually really nice right now. It's not too hot outside, and they are enjoying some outdoor time on the patio, watching and chasing bugs, no doubt. So, yeah, let me know if your cats are doing the same thing. Sorry about this moving target up here. I got this phone mounted above the laptop so I can see you guys on Instagram a little bit better. So, yeah, what do you guys want to talk about today? It is, I think we have a couple people here watching, and I would love to know what's on your mind, what's on your to-do list or on your challenge list. So go ahead and drop a comment, and we will jump right in and discuss things. Let me grab some water. trying to think if there was something else really cool that happened or that's going on that I can just kind of encourage you guys cat wise. Um, we've kind of come out of the summer issues, summer allergies. I know that ragweed has been really, really bad all over the country though lately. So if your cat is struggling with immune system issues like sneezing, runny eyes, maybe some breathing struggles, it could be ragweed where you are. And if you want to check just where you are. If you're in the continental United States, you can always go to pollen.com and they will do daily updates based on your zip code of whatever plants are prevalent causing some, allergy issues. Um, so that's a really good, easy resource to kind of check and see what's going on. There's always great, easy homeopathy remedies that you can use for specific allergy symptoms that can help. And maybe doing some liver support. So there is a homeopathic quercetin product out that I found. So if your cat does not like the taste of quercetin, quercetin is such an amazing antioxidant. It can really help support normalizing histamine release in the body, and it's also an antioxidant. So if you just, I don't know the name of the product offhand, and I don't want to stop the live stream to go look, but if you just Google homeopathic quercetin, there is a liquid product out there that you can use for your cats, and it's completely safe. You may want to do some fall detox, so maybe some milk thistle or something like a milk thistle dandelion blend. So we get the lymphatic support, we get the liver support, and you may just want to do it once a day for about 2 or 3 weeks just to keep your cat's liver happy, and that will help just overall wellness this time of year. In fact, you could do that 2 or 3 different times a year just to support that liver and keep it happy, keep it functioning optimally. Let me think what else we can do right now since it's fall. Oh, here's something else. If you guys aren't doing it, you can add something like cooked or pureed pumpkin to your cat's food, maybe just literally a quarter to a half a teaspoon a day, just to provide a fiber source. And that fiber source actually feeds the healthy gut flora in your cat's microbiome. So it's a great prebiotic fiber. If your cat doesn't like pumpkin, you can look at doing something like butternut squash, any type of squash actually, and then maybe even psyllium fiber or coconut chips would be another good option. And you can rotate these fibers. So again, it's important to give rotation and variety to the gut microbiome. It creates diversity. So if you are constantly feeding the same thing all the time and doing the same fiber source all the time, it can, you can kind of plateau, and then some cats can even develop sensitivities to the same old foods over and over and over and over and over again. So rotation is great. So keep that in mind if you are experimenting with their diet or you're interested in doing some swaps. Changing that up and adding variety is excellent. And if you are doing that, as long as your cat's poop is normal as you go through the transition, then just transition. There's no need to drag it out for a week or 2 unless your cat has a really unhealthy gut or is super, super sensitive to digestive issues. And then you might need to go a little slower, but just take a little bit of the new and add to the old stuff and start slowly transitioning that. And again, just watch your cat's poop. If it is completely fine and normal, you can keep going at that same pace. If it starts to get a little soft, then just stay where you are or back down, like go back 1 step and stay there for a couple days until your cat's poop is normal, and then start to move forward again. So it's not hard. It just takes a little thought process, a little consistency, and probably a little bit more determination on your part, because you're the one in charge of the bowl. Millie's Raw Life says, how do you feel about feeding 80-10-10 long term? That's a great question. That is what we call a prey model diet. 80-10, 80-10-10 is a prey model diet. But here's the problem with prey model diets. They don't account for prebiotic fiber. They don't like to add fiber sources. So look at the label and check to see if there is a fiber source. It's probably going to be in some sort of form of a vegetable. And remember, these amounts are super small, so it's not like you're trying to feed your cat vegetables, okay? But if you wanted to add the pumpkin, add the butternut squash, add some dark leafy greens that are minced, add some broccoli sprouts, add some psyllium husk, or even coconut chips. Those would be great options that you could kind of rotate into that 80-10-10 mixture. And again, as long as there is fiber, you're going to be fine. You might want to check and make sure that there's enough omega-3s. I really don't feel like most cats get, or any pet actually gets, enough of quality essential fatty acids. So adding an omega-3 at the time that you're feeding, not frozen into the food, but add it when you're feeding. Like sardines would be a food source, but you could use an omega-3 like supplement, like an oil, a marine oil. Those would be great to add into that mixture. But you know, as long as there's a fiber source, so we are supporting the microbiome, that's excellent. And one other thing I was going to say, rotate the type of protein. So you're not feeding the same if it's chicken for the rest of its life, okay? So rotate the protein sources, and you can definitely find a lot of variety that way. And then she says, how about fur for fiber? Is it substantial? That's a good question. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure how effective long-term fur would be for fiber, just because most of the time when it comes to cats, like cats in the wild, for example, they get their fiber source typically from the stomach contents of the prey that they're eating. So rabbits and mice that, you know, nibble on grasses and flowers and things like that, that can be a fiber source for them. But when you're dealing with a prey model diet, I don't know how effective fur is as a prebiotic fiber. So that would be a good homework assignment if you wanted to do a little online research and just see how effective, plug it into an AI, you know, on Google or something, and ask how effective is fur providing, prebiotic fiber to cats in their diets, and see what kind of information that you come up with, because that's a good question. I just don't know how much it really does contribute. Now, it might be more like insoluble fiber, that kind of moves things along through the GI tract. But yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. She says, is whole prey considered a complete and balanced diet? From what I have heard and learned from people who do this full time, and then really dive into the nutritional side of feline health, no, because it doesn't provide enough essential fatty acids, and probably fiber, like usable, really good prebiotic fiber for the gut. And again, it really depends on what that animal was eating and if their stomach contents, you know, and what that is and how much of it there is. So that's a good question. It never hurts to add, you know, a fiber source, a prebiotic fiber, a fiber, an omega-3 source. And you might look at the Animal Diet Formulator. If you go to animaldietformulator.com, they might have more information on there. So if you wanted to put in whole prey, put in the recipe of the 80-10-10 so that you can get exact formulations and and the type of meat that you're using, etc. It can tell you how many grams of this and that, and micrograms, all your macros and your micros, as far as the nutritional requirements, the amino acids, the minerals, the fatty acids, things like that. It breaks that down for you. So it takes the guesswork out of the equation for you. And I know a lot of people are concerned about, you know, they want to make their own cat's food at home, fresh diet, gently cooked, raw, whatever it might be, but they're not sure if they're getting their nutritional analysis correct. So this animaldietformulator.com, I can't say enough good things about it. I know the people behind it are amazing. It was developed by Steve Brown, and he was the first raw food formulator back in the 90s. I want to say 90s, when he was like the first one formulating for pet food companies. He had his own pet food company, Steve's Raw Food, or Real Food. The website is animaldietformulator.com. Go to their website and you can find, I think they do like a monthly subscription, but if you wanted to do it just for a month and get a couple recipes, use that for a while and then hop back on a few months later and develop another one, you can certainly do that. So that's something you can play with if you're experimenting with homemade balanced diets. That's a great thing to do because it does take the guesswork out of the issue. And you can rest assured knowing that your cat is going to be meeting all of their nutritional requirements with the food that you're selecting, and it will tell you the amounts. You probably need to get some kind of a food scale because some of those measurements are going to be in micrograms or grams, so we're talking tiny amounts. So yeah, check out the website. And again, Dr. Susan Recker is going to join me on the 16th of this month, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So definitely check that show out with us. And it's going to be at 4 o'clock Central Time on a Thursday. So kind of toward the end of the day, we set it up so it's kind of in the end of the day for Central, and then that way the people on the East Coast aren't quite so, they're not watching the super late at night. How do you feel about synthetics? Do we know if cats can actually absorb them? Yeah, that's a really great question, and we've talked about that here before. Synthetic vitamins are made in a laboratory, and the body does not recognize them. So it has a hard time utilizing them and breaking those things down into a usable form. So not so much, not so great. That's why if you can use whole food options for those, or whole food chelated vitamins, there are products out there, they cost more, right? So just know that going into doing all the recipe and things like that, you will pay a little bit extra for food source supplements instead of synthetics. So definitely keep that in mind. Sometimes it's hard to get away specifically from synthetics because it's hard to source some things. I know selenium is kind of hard in some cases because I know Brazil nuts are a good source of that, but cats don't really care for Brazil nuts too much. So you might just have to do a little digging and figure out what's going to work best for your situation. Fortunately, with so much technology that's available to help us now, it's easier to go find good food sources of vitamins and minerals and things like that, so that it makes this whole process easier. She says, what are some veggies that cats can actually break down and get nutrients from? No, they can actually break down a lot of different things. Now, again, we're not giving them a plate of vegetables, right? We're giving them if you're making a recipe or adding something to their food, whether that's a canned food, a fresh food, or gently cooked food, we're talking very small amounts, like a quarter to a half a teaspoon. So things like chopped Brussels sprouts, and you can mince things. You can mince like broccoli sprouts. You can take actual broccoli. Some cats actually like broccoli. You can take spinach. You can take squash. You can take pumpkin. Jerusalem artichoke is another really good source of prebiotic fiber. Let me think, what else do cats like? Some cats like green beans, believe it or not. But again, we're talking tiny amounts, and you would want to either puree them or mash them up really, really good. If you're going to do carrots, make sure you cook them because otherwise they don't really get absorbed. So again, think about like steaming or lightly cooking some of these things like the pumpkin. Now the sprouts you can do fresh. Um, I know that for a fact. You can do broccoli sprouts fresh. You can do like chopped leafy greens like kale, um, things like that, collard greens. Again, you may have to experiment to see what your cat would actually eat in its food, but we're talking very small amounts. So, quarter to a teaspoon per meal. So, if you're preparing a homemade diet or something like we've talked about up to this point, and you're going to have enough for several days worth or a week, then obviously just figure out how much that needs to be for how many meals that you're going to provide, and that can help you kind of figure out how much you're going to use. But again, it's tiny amounts, tiny amounts. Some cats actually even like to lick fruit, and I don't think it's because they know that they can taste the sweetness, but sometimes it could be just the moisture that they like. They don't really have a lot of receptors, from what I understand, in terms of deciphering sweet versus salty. So, I had a cat years ago that would like to lick watermelon and peaches. And sometimes he would nibble on the watermelon. He would actually eat a big chunk of it, but it was just kind of fun to give them the option to taste things. And some cats really like to taste things. She says, should they be steamed and pureed and fermented so they just don't poop it out? Some things like your super cruciferous, like a no carrots for sure need to be steamed. If you're doing Brussels sprouts, probably that too. The pumpkin, I would do a cooked pumpkin. If you're using sprouts like broccoli sprouts or radish sprouts, things like that, you can just mince them the way they are. Um, if you want to make it easy, there is a company called Green Juju that already has really good products, and they are fermented. So you get the benefit of that, but they're already prepared, and you can just literally scoop them out of this little tub and add it to your cat's food. And mushrooms are actually another good prebiotic source of fiber, and you can do the cooked. The Dr. Robert Silver says that to get the most out of your mushrooms, chop them really finely and saute them for at least 15 minutes. So you're going to get the most benefit out of mushrooms, but you can add a little bit of that mushroom to your cat's food. And again, it's a great source of prebiotic fiber. And they're super immune boosters, and you can use any kind of mushroom actually. So that's kind of cool. It gives you a lot of choices. That is a great. Those are great questions, Millie's Raw Life. So thank you for popping in here. And I'm I'm guessing that sauteing coconut oil, sure, because that's a safe oil to cook with. It doesn't denature, so that's a great option. Yes, absolutely. Um, I would love to see a picture of Millie. I'm assuming that's the cat's name, right? Millie's Raw Life. Um, Gosh, it's too bad you can't drop a picture of the kitty in here, because I'd sure love to see pictures of people's kitties. So yeah, those are great questions. So hopefully that gave you guys a lot of information. Some of that it's tapping my memory banks a little bit. So yeah, check out the Animal Diet Formulator if you guys want to learn more about formulating your own food for your cat. Oh, Millie's actually your dog. Oh, that's great. Okay. I love that too. That's fun. Dogs are so easy compared to cats because dogs, they're omnivores, right? They can go, carnivore, they can eat the vegetables, and they like vegetables more than cats do. I mean, we wouldn't just feed the cats your cat's name is Luna. Oh, sweet. We wouldn't just feed a plate of vegetables to a cat because they're gonna that's not gonna interest them, right? They're carnivores. They want meat. So that's why we just have to be mindful of the amount that we're giving them. But there's so many, the more fresh food that you can add to your pet's diet, the better they're going to be. Because there's less processing, you have less chance of advanced glycation end products, which are the byproducts of cooking things at heat and heating over and over again that you get with processed foods. And you just get the living enzymes. So, when you're thinking about fresh food diets, the least processing you can do, like cooking them over low temperatures for a short period of time instead of long hours and hours and hours, and you're going to retain the natural living enzymes in the food, which is where we get all the benefits versus eating, cooked processed foods all the time. So lots of things we can do to support our kitties and our puppies with fresh food feeding. And let's see, Parley Girl 58 is here. Hello, how are you? She says, do you like, Millie's Raw Life says, do you like powdered completers like Easy Complete? Yes, I do actually. For people who want to just take out the guesswork, the meal completers are great. You have to find something that your cat likes. So you may have to, maybe they like, both of them. If you've tried both of them, they use different food sources to meet all the nutritional requirements. So I like, again, it's variety. If your cat likes one versus the other, then go with that one. But be sure to pay attention to whatever the manufacturer is recommending in terms of the type and the kind of meats to use with those meal completers, because they have based their formulations with specific types of meat. So that way you're not getting too much of something and too little of something when you add the meat mixture in it. Just something to keep in mind. But those are great questions. Let me get some water. I have a lot of articles on perfectlyholistic.com's blog website. If you want to dive into reading pet food labels a little bit more deeply and understanding what things mean, then definitely go just look up, pet food labels or nutrition. We have a category under nutrition for articles, and you'll find a ton of information. Okay, she says, I use the meal completers on my lazy days when I don't feel like weighing rabbit kidneys. Yeah, well, I don't blame you. Who wants to weigh rabbit kidneys? It's meal prep for pets can be a little time consuming and tedious because we want to make sure everything is balanced, right? So kudos to you for doing that. And you know what? It's totally okay to use a meal completer. And again, it's rotation, right? They're getting different types of ingredients to supply their nutritional needs, and fortunately there's more than one way to do it, which is great. And then when you're following a guide, then some vets get really, really scared when you tell them that you feed your cat or your dog fresh food or raw food. They just kind of freak out because there are a lot of people that just kind of wing it, and their pets are not eating balanced food, and not having a balanced diet over time can cause severe problems. It can cause deficiencies. It can cause serious, serious health issues. So that's why we need to make sure that what we're feeding is balanced and complete over time. And like, I don't want to say like every day it has to be exactly balanced and complete, but you want to, like, over a week or two, especially for cats, I wouldn't go over a month. It needs to be balanced. So if you can just nip it in the bud and make sure that what you're doing is correct, then it takes the guesswork out and the worry out. And then you can show the recipe to your vet if they're asking about it and saying, well, this is where I'm getting my recipe, and this is the foods that I'm using for their ingredients. And so it can kind of put them at ease a little bit. She says, how do you feel about Viva after all the recalls? You know what? I am a strong proponent of Viva. I know personally the owners. I have done all of their education. I know the painstaking process they go through for all their meal preps. Sometimes things happen, but they are very proactive in catching that and notifying people and recalling things before it can become a problem. And so their initiative and their proactiveness is what I really admire. And they do go to great lengths to provide good quality, and their facilities and their cleanliness and their sourcing and all of that is top notch. Sometimes some things just happen, and there can be a variety of reasons why that can be. But by far and large, just remember that processed pet food has tons more recalls than raw or fresh food. So that can, you know, some people get a little freaked out because they think recall, but it doesn't really happen very often. And as long as that company is being proactive and fixing whatever was wrong, then I support that. It's the ones that don't, they're just kind of like, well, it's not our fault or, you know, whatever, and don't do anything. That's the ones I don't really want to support. Do you think they're going to start using HPP? I don't know the answer to that, and I haven't gotten any information from them about changing that. So at this time, maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have any plans to change it at this, you know, at this point. But you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, it's like one of those things. Like, do you want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater, even though it may have been just a you know, one-off incident? If it was happening all the time, over and over and over and over again, I would say, yeah, you might want to change your processing and your recipe and what you're doing. But if not, I don't know that it would be worth going through all that um, effort and trouble to for just those minimal things. There's other processes and bacteria kill steps that companies can use instead of HPP. So I think that's probably where they're going to stay for now until I am told otherwise. So no, I don't mind you asking a bunch of questions. That's what live Q&A is here for. So glad you could drop those in here for sure. So yeah, we've gone over a lot of stuff today so far. Does anybody else have any other questions? I love having good conversations. So again, I'm here to support you guys and help you with whatever it is that you're struggling with. So just giving you some ideas and some feedback. It's always fun for me to connect with you guys too. So yeah, if we can take one more question if you guys have anything, and if not, we can wrap up the show. It's about 30 minutes in. That's kind of what I had in mind to do today. So yeah, does anybody else have any other questions? Because now's your chance. You can always reach out to me at pam@perfectlyholistic.com. That's PURRR, perfectlyholistic.com. If you want to even set up a free 20-minute consultation, we can talk about whatever it is you're struggling with. We can talk about services. She says I have one more. Drop it in. Absolutely. Let's see what else she has a question on. I love this. Hang on, let's see. She's probably typing as we speak. Okay. No, it's coming. She has one more. What's a good size appropriate raw meaty bone for a cat or a ferret? Okay, this is a great question. I'll tell you what I've used in the past. If you can source frozen quail or even just fresh quail, some people have access to fresh quail. Their quail wings and their bones, with the exception of like the thigh bone, that's pretty big. But everything else on their body, even if you cut it like with the kitchen shears, like I used to buy the frozen quail and they were bone in, and I would literally get the kitchen shears and just cut them into smaller pieces, and so that they could really go to town and chew on it. But they loved the wings. The wings were like their favorite, and that's a great size for cats to chew on. You know, chicken necks can be too much, and it can also be too much bone. So the quail is just a beautiful, smaller little animal. Actually, I'm gonna take back something I said. The thigh bone of the quail is fine. I was thinking of pheasant. So pheasant, like not pheasant, Cornish game hen, which is another like little small chicken. Those can be good too. I've used those as well, but they're thigh bones. That's the thigh bone I was trying to think of. That thigh bone is really too big. That'd be great for a small dog though, if they wanted to chew on that. But I would go with quail would be my first choice, and then some of the bones on a Cornish game hen would be perfect. So yeah, that's what I would do for those. Those are great. I have never raised a ferret, so I don't know anything about them and what they eat. Um, but if that's appropriate for them, try it and see what happens. Um, quail wings, got it. Yep. And my cats used to love. I can't find them anymore. Um, they used to be commonly sold at a couple places. I had a pet store when I lived in Houston that had freezers full of like restaurant grade frozen whatever, you name it, for pets. So I would buy them there in like packs of 6 or 8 or something. And then I would find them sometimes at Whole Foods, and then I didn't shop there anymore. So I have not been able to find them at the grocery stores that I'm currently going to. She says, what about pheasant feet? Well, they're small, so probably good collagen source, right? I'm trying to think what else. Like dogs eat the chicken feet. Um, Great collagen source. So you could try it. My goodness, if you have access to it, see what you got. Let them try it out and see. Um, so yeah, that's a good question. My cats haven't had quail in so long, because I just have a hard time finding it. But if I can find it, I would love to start feeding it again. That was awesome. She goes, I have them in my freezer. Oh, you are so prepared. I love it. I love it so much. Yep, awesome. Got them from Rafi in Miami. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. I think I knew that they sold those. I should look into that. Um, Two of my babies that I have now have never had quail because I just got them 2 years ago, so I didn't have access to it. So it's something I could definitely look into and see what they think. So yeah, awesome. I love it. All right. Okay, last call. Anybody else have any other questions? If not, we will see you again in November. I cannot believe I'm saying that. Where's this year gone? Hopefully you guys are going to have a great October. Definitely come watch our shows this month. If you miss them, they are going to be recorded, so they will live on those platforms, and you can go back and watch the recording. And if you have any questions, definitely drop comments underneath them because we do check those. Um, I have a wonderful assistant who helps me keep all that in mind. So only once a month lives. At this point, yes, but you can always reach out, Pam at perfectlyholistic.com, or tag me or send me a DM on the Instagram or the Facebook. Yeah, so it's not like I'm not available for you guys, but I typically just go live once a month for now. So yeah, but I'm here. I'm here whenever you guys need me. So not just live. So anyway, okay, well guys, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you learned something, and I hope you will experiment with some of the things we talked about. And definitely keep me updated. Let me know how things are going as you're implementing those things or those changes. And so, anyway, okay, well, we will see you. Happy pre-Halloween if you guys celebrate that. And if not, we'll see you in November for more fun. So, thanks, you guys. We'll talk to you next month. Bye.